let's jump right in, shall we? Today we're tackling English listening skills. We're diving into 15 powerful techniques.
Oh, wow. 15.
15, yep, to help you truly master understanding spoken English. You know, we always try to bring you the best, most effective tips, and these come straight from a source that's all about maximizing language learning. So we're about to get really strategic.
So it's not just about, vocabulary and grammar this time.
Yeah.
We're talking about rewiring your brain to decode English like a native speaker.
Okay, so first up, a fundamental principle. You ready?
Yes, lay it on me.
Listening every single day.
I was going to say that.
Right.
Yeah, everyone says that.
I know you've heard it before, but
there's got to be more to it.
There is. Our source really goes deeper, explaining that consistency is so important.
Okay.
Because of, how our brains are wired.
It's all about neuroplasticity, right?
Right.
Every time you hear English, your brain forms new connections. It strengthens the ability to process those sounds.
Oh, okay. And patterns of the language.
So it's literally like, lifting weights at the gym.
Exactly. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
So even if it's just for a few minutes every single day, immersing yourself in English can actually change the physical structure of your brain.
I think that's the amazing part about it.
It's pretty wild.
Right? Is it like, you don't have to do a ton. These small efforts lead to big changes over time.
That's amazing. Okay. So that makes it feel a lot more manageable.
Way more manageable.
Instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, I've got to, spend hours and hours every day.
You don't have to block out all this time, just weave English into your everyday life, like listen to music while you're getting ready.
I like that.
Have a podcast on in the background while you're cooking, or, just even the news while you're doing chores.
And your brain's just soaking it all up.
Yeah, even if you're not, paying attention to it.
That's so cool. Okay, I love that. So now let's move on to a technique.
That can be a real game changer, I think, especially when you're, in the beginning.
Particularly in the beginning.
Yeah, using subtitles.
Yeah.
But there's a really strategic way to use them that a lot of people miss, I think.
The key is to use them as a temporary bridge, right? It's like you're training your brain to connect that spoken word with its written form.
Okay.
And then as you get more comfortable, then you start weaning yourself off the subtitles and letting your ears take over.
Like training wheels for your ears.
Training wheels for your ears. I love that.
I feel like that's such a good analogy.
Yeah.
Because it makes it less daunting, like, okay.
It is less daunting, exactly.
I can start with the subtitles, and then I can kind of, ditch them later.
I actually used this myself when I was learning Spanish.
Really?
I started with subtitles and then gradually transitioned to listening without them.
Oh, wow. So it actually worked.
It really did, yeah. It really accelerated my progress.
Wow. That's awesome. Okay, I love to hear those firsthand,
Yeah, it really works.
Anecdotes. All right, let's talk about another tool, and this is something that I think can be really helpful, and that's adjusting the audio speed. It's like personalized control over the pace of your learning.
Which is silly. I think it's a feature that people don't use often enough. It's like, you wouldn't go to the gym and start with the heaviest weight.
Right.
Same with listening. If you're struggling to keep up with a native speaker, don't be afraid to slow it down until you get more comfortable.
It's all about finding that challenge level.
Exactly.
And then you can increase the speed as you go, as your skills develop.
Until you can handle it at, normal speed.
Exactly. All right. Now, I think this is something that probably a lot of people listening are thinking about right now.
What's that?
The pressure to understand every single word.
Yeah.
And it can feel overwhelming, right?
I think it's a common fear, but the truth is you don't have to catch every syllable.
Really?
To get the gist.
Oh my gosh, that takes so much pressure off.
It does.
Because I always feel like wait, I've got to get every
It's common misconception.
single word.
What our source really emphasizes is the power of focusing on key words and using context clues.
Okay.
It's like you're solving a puzzle.
I love it.
Your brain fills in the gaps based on the information around it.
Like a detective.
Exactly. Even native speakers don't catch every word.
Oh, really?
We rely on context, intonation, nonverbal cues to fill in the blanks.
That makes me feel a lot better.
I know, it takes the pressure off. Right?
Because it's like, okay, I don't have to strive for perfection. I can just get the main idea and then kind of, figure it out.
Use the context clues.
From there. Okay, I like that a lot. Okay, speaking of challenges, let's talk about
here we go.
different accents. Because English is
a global language.
A global language. And it's spoken with, I mean, just an incredible array of accents and dialects.
I know, so many, and it's overwhelming.
I mean, sometimes it feels like I'm listening to completely different languages, even though it's...
Yeah, it is overwhelming. It's like training for a marathon. You don't just run on a flat surface the whole time. You want to vary your route to prepare for hills and curves and different surfaces.
Okay.
So exposing yourself to different accents is like building those mental muscles. You know, you're ready for anything.
You can handle any terrain.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. Okay, let's dive into a technique that's both fun and effective.
I love when it's fun.
I know, right?
It's got to be fun.
The shadowing technique. Have you ever tried this?
I have, and I recommend it to my students a lot.
Oh.
It might feel a little silly at first, but it is really powerful.
Okay, tell me more.
You listen to a sentence and then you repeat it, right? You try to mimic the speaker's tone and their rhythm as closely as possible.
Oh, okay.
It's like a vocal workout that strengthens your comprehension and pronunciation at the same time.
So you're kind of hitting both at the same time?
You are.
It's so cool. And it also trains your brain to process that spoken language more quickly and accurately.
Yeah, more quickly and accurately. So, you know, you can keep up with the flow of natural speech.
Exactly. I love that this is something you can do literally anywhere.
I know, you don't need anything special, just your ears and your voice.
All right. Now, this is kind of a challenge for our listeners. Think about how often you rely on visuals.
Oh, all the time.
When you're watching, movies or TV shows.
Especially when it's in English and you don't quite understand it. You're like looking at the actors' faces to try to figure out.
I don't know, you want those visual cues.
What's happening?
But our source suggests something very interesting.
Oh, what's that?
Watch something in English, but without looking at the screen.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. What do you think?
That's hard.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
But it forces your brain to work harder.
Yes.
Right? It's like a mental workout for your ears.
It is. It is. And without those visual cues, your auditory processing, it kicks into overdrive.
Yeah.
So you're paying attention to all those little things that you normally wouldn't.
Exactly. All those nuances and, intonation, pronunciation that you might otherwise miss. I'm definitely going to try that.
Yeah, me too. That's a good one.
Okay. And finally, before we move on, note-taking. It's a classic technique.
It is.
It helps us really kind of...
Solidify,
those key takeaways. What are your thoughts on that?
I think note-taking is an excellent way to transform passive listening into active learning.
Okay.
You're processing what you're hearing.
Yeah.
You're identifying that important information.
Yeah.
It's great for your vocabulary, and your spelling improves too.
And you end up with this personalized...
Study guide,
yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
It's like you're creating your own
customized learning resource.
Exactly.
It's awesome. And you learn how to summarize information.
Oh, right.
Which is so important.
Okay. So instead of just passively absorbing it, we're really engaging with it.
Yeah, organizing it, making it your own.
Okay, that's such a powerful shift. All right, now,
here we go.
We've talked about passive listening and note-taking, which are both so valuable. But let's explore this concept of active listening.
Active listening.
Because this goes way beyond, language learning, right?
Oh, yeah. This is about really engaging with information, extracting meaning from it.
It's like a more mindful of listening.
Yes, you're present.
Okay.
You're asking yourself questions. You're summarizing those key points in your mind, and you're even thinking about what the speaker might say next.
Okay. So it's almost like
it's like a dialogue
with the speaker.
Okay.
Even if you're not the one talking.
I love that. And it helps deepen your understanding.
It does.
Improve your memory.
Absolutely.
And even enhances your ability to respond, in conversations. So cool. I love
how these techniques are not just about, the English, but also
about life.
About life skills.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of expanding our horizons,
yes.
Let's talk about the importance of different types of content, right? News reports, interviews,
audiobooks,
podcasts, even casual conversations.
Everything.
I mean, it's like a diverse diet for your ears.
A diverse diet for your ears. I like that.
Right. You're getting all this vocabulary.
Grammatical structure.
Different speaking styles.
Yeah.
So you're challenging yourself.
So you're really...
We're becoming a more adaptable listener.
It's like
I'm ready for anything.
A mental Swiss Army knife for your ears. Okay.
I like that.
Now, here's something that might surprise you. What do you think about short bursts of listening?
Short bursts? What do you mean?
Yeah, like you don't have to block out hours and hours.
I mean, I think that's really great because a lot of times that's what discourages people, right?
Or they have to.
Like, oh my gosh, I've got to sit down for 2 hours and just,
Right, and it's overwhelming, but it's all about micro-learning, right? Short, focused sessions, even 5 or 10 minutes, can be really effective.
So it's quality over quantity.
It is. Think about snacking on knowledge throughout the day instead of gorging on it all at once.
That's a really good
Your brain can digest it better.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. And it makes it, so much more manageable.
Manageable, less overwhelming, and less likely to lead to burnout.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Now, I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this next technique, and that's singing along to English songs.
Yes! Fun, right?
No.
Everyone loves music.
Who doesn't love a good jam session?
It is, but it also has so many benefits, right?
Okay. Tell me, what are those benefits?
Music engages multiple areas of the brain at the same time. You're listening to the words, but you're also experiencing rhythm and melody and emotion.
And you're having fun.
So it makes it all more enjoyable and memorable.
It's like those catchy tunes, and they get stuck in our heads, and then the language just comes along for the ride.
Exactly, and you're practicing your pronunciation and your intonation while you're doing it.
It's like sneaking in a pronunciation lesson.
Yes, exactly.
While you're, belting out your favorite tunes.
I love it.
I do too. Okay, and speaking of real-world practice.
Yes.
Let's talk about talking to native speakers. I mean, this is where
the rubber meets the road.
Comes together, right?
Yeah.
Because, there's no substitute for that real-life experience.
I think it's the most intimidating part for people, though.
It can feel really intimidating.
It can.
But what would you say to someone who's, kind of scared to take that leap?
I mean, even native speakers make mistakes.
That's true.
The most important thing is to be willing to communicate, even if you're not perfectly fluent yet.
So it's more about courage than
perfection. Okay. Yeah. And the more you practice, the more comfortable you'll become.
Yeah. And I think finding ways to make it fun.
Fun. Yes. It can be like a test.
It can't feel like a test. Okay. And luckily, we live in a world where technology makes it easier than ever. We've got all these language exchange apps, online communities. I mean, it's
awesome. Virtual reality platforms. So you can really
immerse yourself.
So cool. Okay, speaking of technology.
Here we go.
English listening apps. I mean, what are your thoughts on those?
Oh, I love them. Things like BBC Learning English, TED Talks, ESL Pod.
Okay.
They have curated content, interactive exercises, transcripts.
Oh.
It's like having a tutor
in your pocket.
I
like that.
Right.
So you've got a structured way to practice your skills.
It is, and it's often a wide range of topics.
Okay.
So you can find something you're interested in. Okay, cool. Now, before we move on to our next set of techniques, I think it's important to acknowledge that learning a language is a journey.
It is a journey.
And progress takes time.
It's not a race.
And you don't have to compare yourself to others.
No, everybody's journey is different.
Right. So it's really about enjoying the process.
Enjoy the process.
And celebrating those small wins along the way.
Exactly. Be patient, stay curious, and remember, consistency is key. Like any skill, the more you practice, the more natural it'll become.
That's such a good reminder. All right, we'll be back soon with even more listening boosting tips.
More tips coming.
So stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into mastering English listening skills.
We've uncovered a treasure trove of techniques already.
Yeah, but we've got more, right?
But there's always more to explore.
I know, so much more. In this part, I think it would be cool to go beyond just understanding the words.
Yeah.
And really explore how to grasp the nuances of spoken language. Like it's becoming fluent and,
Yeah, like the unspoken part.
The unspoken parts of English, which I think is so...
It's fascinating.
Like, it's incredible how much information is conveyed through intonation, stress, rhythm.
Yeah, things that you don't necessarily, learn in a textbook.
Right. And I've definitely noticed that a speaker's tone of voice can totally change the meaning of a sentence.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, even something simple like, that's great. You can say that with genuine enthusiasm, or you could be sarcastic, or you could be disappointed.
Oh, yeah.
It all depends on how you say it.
So it's like this secret code embedded in language. So how do we crack this code?
Yeah.
Because it seems like such a subtle skill.
Yeah, it's definitely subtle. It starts with paying attention. So as you're listening, really tune in to those shifts in the speaker's voice. Notice which words they emphasize.
Okay.
Notice where their pitch rises or falls.
Okay.
Notice how fast or slow they're speaking. These are all clues.
It's like becoming a detective of language.
Exactly. You're looking for those hidden meanings.
Yeah. Do you have any tips for, practicing this?
Yeah. One fun exercise is to take a really simple sentence and try saying it in a bunch of different ways. Why don't we try it? How about, I can't believe it?
Okay.
So first, say it with surprise.
I can't believe it.
Okay, now say it with disappointment.
I can't believe it.
And now say it with excitement.
I can't believe it.
See? Just changing your intonation completely transforms it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That was so cool. It's like we're conveying the whole story with just those...
Just with those few words.
Okay, speaking of stories, let's talk about the power of listening to audiobooks.
Oh, audiobooks. I love them.
I mean, I've always found them so immersive.
They're great, yeah. They're great for developing listening stamina,
Oh, okay.
You have to stay engaged for longer periods of time. You're following these complex narratives. You really get lost in the language.
And, I feel like I get so caught up in the story that I almost forget that I'm
that you're learning.
I'm learning, yeah.
Yeah.
And you encounter so many different accents and speaking styles.
You do.
Which keeps your ears,
Keeps you on your toes.
on their toes. Okay. And, speaking of engaging content, podcasts, I mean, they've become so popular for learning and staying informed.
And I think part of what makes them so great is that there's something for everyone.
Right. Literally.
You can find anything you're interested in.
Anything you're interested in. And it's like sneaking in that language lesson while you're
doing something else.
Yeah, catching up on current events.
Yeah, or just relaxing.
They're
great for just relaxing.
Okay. And what I love about podcasts is they often feature that natural conversational language.
Yes.
Which is the kind of language we need to understand in real life.
It is.
It's not, textbook stuff.
It's how people actually talk, and you get all the slang, the idioms.
Oh, yeah, those are so top.
The informal expressions, yeah.
Okay. And here's a tip for our listeners. Don't be afraid to adjust that playback speed, right? Most apps let you.
Yeah. You can
slow down, speed it up. Whatever you need.
Yeah.
Find that sweet spot where it's challenging enough, but not so fast that you're lost. That you're totally lost. Okay. Now, this one might sound counterintuitive, but trust me.
Okay, here we go.
I want you to hear me out on this one.
Okay. I'm listening.
Have you ever tried listening to English while you're doing other things?
Like multitasking.
Yeah, multitasking.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I would be distracted, but...
I know, it sounds distracting, but it's about passive learning.
Passive learning.
Our brains can actually absorb information.
Really?
Even when we're not actively focusing.
Oh, wow.
It's like soaking up the atmosphere of a new environment.
I like that.
Right. You're not actively studying every detail, but you're picking up on those subtle cues.
So it's happening in the background. That's cool.
Yeah, your subconscious is working. So while you're cooking, cleaning, working out. Even have some English audio playing in the background.
I'm going to try that. Okay.
And speaking of working out, this next one's a really cool connection. Our source points out that physical activity can actually enhance your listening skills.
That's interesting. I wouldn't think those two are connected, but...
I know, it might seem unrelated.
But how does it work?
But there's science behind it. So, exercise increases blood flow to the brain, right?
Oh, okay.
Which improves cognitive function, which includes memory, attention, and even...
language processing.
So
it's good for your brain and your body.
Yeah. It's not just physical fitness.
It's brain fitness, too.
Brain fitness.
Yeah.
Maybe we should rename this episode 15 Ways to Improve Your English.
I like
listening skills while getting in shape.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But in all seriousness, try listening to a podcast while you're, going for a walk.
Doing yoga.
Or doing some yoga or dancing around your living room.
Okay, so get moving.
Okay, now let's talk about mindfulness.
Oh, mindfulness.
It's good for our mental well-being, but also...
Yeah, but how does it relate to listening?
For our listening abilities. Mindfulness is about being present in the moment.
Yeah.
Right. Paying attention to our thoughts and feelings.
Without judgment.
Exactly. When we apply this to listening, it helps us quiet the mental chatter.
Okay.
And really tune in.
So you can focus?
Yeah, focus.
That makes sense.
So how can we, bring mindfulness into our English listening practice? It's such a kind of
It's a big concept.
A broad concept.
It is, but I think the application is actually really simple. Find a quiet space. Get comfortable. Close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. And just focus on the sound of the speaker's voice.
Okay.
Just notice how their intonation rises and falls, the rhythm of their speech.
So we're really like meditating.
You are.
On language.
And the more you practice this, the easier it becomes to access that kind of deep listening.
So cool. Okay. And for our listeners who are feeling really
ambitious, okay.
Let's talk about dictation.
Yeah.
It's a classic language learning technique. I think it could be so effective.
Yeah, it's really effective.
For improving listening comprehension, spelling.
It's a workout.
It is a workout.
For your ears and your brain.
Tell me more about that.
So you're listening closely, identifying those words, and then you're writing them down.
Okay.
You're translating the sounds into written form.
Oh, so it's like next level.
It's next level
listening.
It's challenging, yeah.
How important is it to get every single word right? Because I feel like it would be so frustrating to constantly,
You don't have to be pausing and rewinding.
The goal is not to get everything perfect. The goal is to train your ears to identify the sounds and your brain to process the language quickly.
Okay, so it's more about the process.
It is. It is.
Okay.
And as you practice, you'll make fewer mistakes.
Right.
Your comprehension will get better.
Okay.
Your vocabulary will expand.
It's like all these wins in one.
Yeah.
And, for our tech-savvy listeners, there are some really cool dictation tools available online.
Thanks.
And through apps, and they'll even give you instant feedback.
Instant feedback so you can track your progress.
So cool. Okay. And speaking of essential tools,
there we go.
Note-taking.
Note-taking. I love note-taking.
I love note-taking too.
So important.
I mean, it's so crucial for capturing
information, organizing your thoughts, comprehension. I'm a big note-taker, but I always struggle with knowing what to write down and what to
leave out.
Leave out.
What's important.
Yeah.
It's a common challenge. Think of note-taking like creating a roadmap.
Okay.
It's a roadmap of what you're hearing.
Right.
So you're identifying the main points.
Okay.
You're organizing the supporting details.
Okay.
And you're making connections between the ideas.
Okay. So instead of just writing down every single thing, I should be more,
more selective.
Selective.
Yeah. And I think the beauty of note-taking is you can do it however you want.
Right.
Some people like bullet points.
Yeah.
Some people like mind maps.
I like to color code sometimes.
Yeah, color code.
Okay. So it's all about finding what works for you.
What works for you. There's no right or wrong way,
as
long as it's helping you.
Okay. So it's more about creating a system for making sense of the information. Okay. Yeah. Now, as we kind of approach the final stretch of this part, I want to highlight repetition. It might sound a little too basic.
Too simple.
Too simple, yeah.
But trust me on this one.
Okay.
Repetition is the key to mastery.
Okay.
It's how we learn new information.
Okay.
It's how we solidify it, and it's how we make it accessible.
Okay.
Think about how you learned your first language. You heard words repeated over and over again until...
I never thought about it that way.
Right.
It's just ingrained in our brain.
It's ingrained. You don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
And it's the same with English, right? The more you hear it, the more it becomes part of you.
So even though it might feel like I'm not, doing anything new, simply repeating that familiar content.
Yeah, it can still be beneficial.
Can actually help.
It can. And repetition doesn't have to be boring. You can listen to the same podcast episode a few times, but each time you're focusing on something different.
Oh, okay.
So the first time, you're listening for the main idea.
Okay.
The second time, you're listening for vocabulary. The third time, you're paying attention to the intonation.
Oh, that's a really good way to kind of...
Break it down.
Okay, and you can also create flashcards.
Flashcards are great.
Yeah.
And practice saying things out loud over and over again. You can even record yourself.
Oh, record yourself.
Listen back to it.
Okay. So I can hear where I'm,
You can hear if you need to improve your pronunciation or your fluency.
It's like having a personal speech coach in my pocket.
It is.
Okay, and finally, before we wrap up this part, I want to emphasize that, we need to personalize our listening practice based on our goals and our interests.
Right. absolutely. What works for one person doesn't work for another.
It's like our own
It's your own listening workout.
listening workout.
It is. It is.
Yeah. So if you love movies,
Watch movies.
watch movies.
If you love music, listen to music.
Listen to music.
Find podcasts, audiobooks, documentaries that you're interested in.
Make it fun.
Make it fun.
That's the key takeaway, right?
It is the key takeaway. When you're having fun, you learn better.
You do. So find what works for you and enjoy the process.
Enjoy the process.
Okay, we'll be back after a short break with the final part of our deep dive
More tips coming.
into the world of English listening. All right, welcome back, listeners. We are in the final stretch of our deep dive into mastering English listening skills. You ready for some next level strategies?
Oh, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, let's unlock these, pro tips.
The pro tips, yeah. We saved the best for last.
Okay. So these are the ones that I think can take your listening from, good to exceptional.
Yeah, exceptional listening. That's the goal.
That's the goal. Okay, so let's start with the power of prediction. What do you think about that?
Prediction. Okay, so that's almost like having a sixth sense, right?
Yeah, kind of.
You know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, you're anticipating what the speaker might say.
Yeah. It's like you're using your knowledge of the world, your understanding of language,
Right.
and even your intuition, right? Just to guess what's coming next.
Okay, so it's not about, magically knowing the future.
Right.
It's about making those educated guesses based on
the clues.
clues. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. And the more you practice this, the better you get at it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like a muscle. The more you use it,
The stronger it gets.
the stronger it gets. Yeah.
Okay. So how do we actually do this? Like, what are some tips for incorporating prediction into our listening practice?
Pay attention to the little cues that speakers give. Sometimes they'll pause before they say something important.
Oh, okay.
Or they might use transition words, like to signal a change in topic. Or they might even ask a rhetorical question to kind of prepare you for what's coming next.
So it's like we're becoming detectives
We are detectives.
of language.
Yes.
Okay. So as we get better at predicting, we become more active listeners.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're more engaged. You're anticipating. It's great.
You're one step ahead.
You are one step ahead.
Yeah. Okay. I like that a lot. Okay. Let's talk about visualization.
Visualization.
Because this one is all about creating mental images of what you're hearing.
So we're turning those words into pictures.
Yeah, it's like a movie in your mind.
Exactly.
Okay. And I can already see how this would make listening more engaging and memorable.
Yeah, it definitely does.
But, how do we do it? How do we make those mental pictures come to life?
Pay close attention to descriptive language. So when you hear the speaker describing something, try to picture it. Picture the scenes, the characters, the actions, and don't be afraid to use your imagination.
So it's like we're creating our own movie in our heads
Exactly.
based on the words we're hearing.
We are, and it's super helpful, especially when you're listening to, audiobooks or podcasts that tell stories.
Right.
It brings the story to life.
Yeah. And it can be helpful for remembering information too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You're creating these vivid images in your mind, so you're more likely to remember it.
It's like we're anchoring those concepts to something more concrete.
It's like your own memory palace.
I love that. All right, so for our listeners who are feeling really ambitious,
Okay, here we go.
let's talk about shadowing.
Shadowing. Yeah, it's a good one.
Because this technique it's often used by, professional interpreters.
Yeah.
So this one's intense.
It's pretty intense. It involves listening to a speaker and repeating what they're saying
At the same time.
almost like an echo.
Wow. That sounds like you need, some serious
Yeah, some serious
focus and coordination.
You do, but it's worth it.
Okay, so what are the benefits?
Well, your brain is working on multiple levels at the same time. You're listening, you're comprehending, you're translating, and you're producing speech all at once.
Oh my gosh, that's like a mental marathon.
It is. It is. But it's so good for fluency and confidence, especially if you need to, speak English in real life situations.
Right.
It helps with pronunciation, intonation, rhythm. It's like having your own personal speech coach.
Oh, I like that.
They're there with
Okay. Now let's talk about something that's more about self-awareness, and that's identifying your listening weaknesses.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Because we can't really improve if we don't know what we need to work on, right?
That's true. But how do you do that? How do you know what your weaknesses are?
It's like becoming a detective of our own
Of your own habits.
habits.
Yeah.
So pay attention to those moments when you feel lost or confused.
Yeah, when you're listening and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, like, wait, what did they just say? Are you struggling with a specific accent?
Yeah, or are you getting tripped up by fast speech?
Fast speech. Or maybe idioms.
Idiom slang, yeah.
So once you know what those weaknesses are, then you can,
You can target your practice.
target your practice.
If you know you struggle with accents, then listen to more accents. If you have trouble with fast speech, slow it down. If idioms are your downfall, learn more idioms.
Yeah, it's all about that personalized learning, right?
It is.
Okay. Now, I know we've covered a lot of techniques in this deep dive.
A lot of
It
techniques.
can feel a bit overwhelming.
It can, but you don't have to do everything at once.
Yeah, good.
Start small.
Okay, so pick one or two.
Pick one or two, get comfortable, and then you add more.
Okay, I like that.
Building a house, you start with one brick at a time.
One brick at a time. And remember, consistency is key.
Consistency.
Okay, so even a few minutes each day
Can make a difference.
can make a big difference.
And most importantly, have fun.
Yes, have fun.
Enjoy.
Choose content you're interested in.
Yeah, find other people to learn with.
Celebrate those little wins.
Eh.
All right, so we've covered so much in this deep dive,
We have a lot of information.
but the journey of language learning, it never really ends.
It never
Yeah.
ends. It's a lifelong journey.
And that's the beauty of it. There's always something new to discover, something new to learn.
So keep exploring, keep practicing, stay curious.
Yes, curiosity is so important. All right, thanks for joining us on this deep dive, listeners. We hope you feel empowered to take your English listening skills to the next level. Remember, with the right strategies and dedication, you can achieve those goals.
You can.
So keep practicing, keep listening, and until next time, happy learning.
Happy learning.